There's some things that we thought were buried deep, that we thought we were well rid of and we would never have to face again. Some past hurts, the past pains that must be brought up to the surface and be dealt with in order for true healing to come. I don't know if you've ever had an ulcer, but an ulcer sometimes, it's a hole in your stomach that sometimes gets covered on the outside. But yet that infection is still on the inside and still eating away on the outside. So if you were able to see it from the outside, everything would look okay. But from the inside, there's an infection that's raging. And if you leave that infection long enough, it'll burn a hole right through your stomach. And so what do doctors have to do? They have to go and open that up and purge it and cleanse it. And cleanse that wound to stop the infection, to stop the spread of that infection. That's how sin is in our lives. Sometimes we have it hidden deep within, so that on the surface everything looks good, everything seems to be intact, everything seems to be in order. But underneath the surface there's an infection. There's an infection that's raging, and it starts out as a small little entity, but then it grows and starts eating away at different parts of us. It starts consuming different parts of us until we get to a place where we don't even recognize that we are wounded beyond repair. My God. But we've got to be purged. We've got to be purged. David was asking for purging that is painful. It's not any easy thing to be purged. Right. Because there are those things that are deep on the inside that must come out in order for you to receive the healing that it is that God desires to give. But in order for that healing to come, for if you were to receive that healing on top and there's still infection on the bottom, then that infection would continue to eat out at what's been put in. But before any medication can be applied, before any healing can happen, there's got to be an emptying. There's got to be a purging, a scourging, a cleansing, if you will. The Lord desires to cleanse us, but before He can do His work, before He can come with that balm and cleanse us from within, there are some things that need to come out of our lives. There are some situations, some sin, some transgression that needs to be brought from the surface. That very thing that stinks in our life, that putrefies the rest of our life, it needs to be brought out to the surface and not hidden and covered up, but it needs to come out so that the Lord can do the work that He desires to do on the inside. Yes. But you see, that's a problem right there, because none of us likes to hurt. Maybe I'm speaking for myself this morning, but no one likes to be broken. No one likes to go through the purging, because the purging is painful. That's right. Purging hurts. It brings up past memories and scars that we thought we were well done with. It brings back things from our past that remind us of who we were. The purging is painful, but it's necessary.
Yes. Absolutely.
For in verse 10, David asked that the Lord would create in him a clean heart.
Yes.
You can't have a clean heart if you have things buried in the corners and the crevices of your heart. If you really desire a clean heart, there's some extractions that the Lord must perform to take some things out before He can cleanse and make new.
Yes.
The Bible says, restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and uphold me with thy free spirit. But as we get to verse 13 in Psalms chapter 51, it seems to make a strange statement. It says, then will I teach transgressors thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee. Now at this point, remember that David had been seeking mercy because he had given cause for the enemies of the Lord to transgress against His name, to blaspheme His name, to speak against all the good that He had done for Israel. But verse 13 says, then will I teach transgressors thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee. You know, on Wednesday we heard a phenomenal Bible study that spoke about patience. And it was the story of Lazarus, Mary, and Martha in a way that we had never heard before. You see, oftentimes we criticize them because we say that they lacked faith. But Mary and Martha had faith because they called a for Jesus when their brother was sick. They called on the great physician to come when their brother was in need because they believed that he was more than able to heal. But you see, the situation was that the Lord took his time before coming to Bethany where they were. He took his time before coming to their rescue.
Right.
And so they lacked patience, so they buried, their brother died and they buried their brother. And Mary's response, or Martha's response when the Lord said, bring him forth, she said, but he stinks. He stinks. You know, Lord, I believe that before that you were able to handle the situation, but now the situation's got to a point where there's no hope. There's no hope left. And you know, I can't bear the thought of bringing him back up and bringing him back. Even though you say you're the resurrection and the life, I can't bear the part of bringing that carcass up because he stinks. He decays. He's in a state of disrepair. He's not able to, there's no hope left in this situation. Sometimes we treat ourselves like that way. We know, we say that the Lord is able when the situation is a certain point, but when the situation gets to the point where we think that it's beyond repair, we think that there's no hope, we said, Lord, no, I don't want to go back there. Even though you say that you're able to bring life into a dead situation, even though you're able to repair and to restore, it's too painful. I can't go back there. I can't deal with that situation, oh Lord. I can't deal with the stink, oh God, of what I've done. I can't deal with the stink of who I was. Lord, I don't want anything to do with that. So even though you're able to bring healing, I don't want it. I don't want it. And we don't receive the healing that the Lord has for us because it's painful.
My God.
Because we don't desire to go back and to deal with the situations that have caused such hurt and pain in our lives. We'd rather have it be buried and never think about it again and leave it behind us and move on. But until we bring up those hurts, until we bring up those things that have been buried deep within, there can't be any healing. There can't be any moving on, for that situation, that tug, that sin, that transgression, whatever it is, will continue to plague you as you go along. And like an ulcer, it'll grow. It'll start off small at first, but then it'll grow and grow until it rips through you and rips through your spirit. You don't even recognize how you ended up in this position. But it's all because you didn't take care. You rather leave the things that you thought were past buried instead of dealing with the situation. Now, as we said before, there's a difference between Saul and David. But what was so crucial in David's situation is that David made a choice. David could have done like many do and play the helpless victim and say, you know what, oh, I'm only human and I'm entitled to make mistakes now and again, and so, you know, look at all all the good that I've done before this. You know, I think I should be justified by my record. I have a pretty good track record up until now, and you know what? Yes, I've made a mistake, but you know what? It's okay, and we'll just move on from there. Sometimes we get entangled in our past, in the sense that we allow our own justification to absolve us of what we've just done. We allow the fact that we've done good in the past to rectify the situation, to free us from having to pay for our mistakes.
That's right.
But David chose not only to acknowledge his situation, but chose to move beyond this breaking point. For this breaking point in David's life was not meant to kill him. The situation, even though it was a situation of David's own doing, it could have been a situation that killed him.
Yes.
For remember, David himself said that this man deserved to die. But because of David's attitude, because he desired to make things right, the Lord forgave him and preserved his life.
My God.
Now, I want to talk about us this morning, because sometimes we, whether through situations of our own doing or not, we find ourselves at that breaking point. We find ourselves in that position where we feel that we can't go any further, where the situation that we've been dealing with, the situation that has caused so much pain in our lives, is just too much to ignore, and a decision must be made. Something has to be done about the situation, because there comes a point where the stink is so strong in your life that you just can't take it anymore.